Be nice to my clients. Work that perfectly. Here. What?
I honestly need a gavel at some point. Hi, everyone, calling this meeting to order, calling this April 17th meeting or 16th meeting of the Independent Neighborhood Democrats to order. My name is James Campbell, I'm president. As we begin every meeting, the leadership of the Independent Neighborhood Democrats welcomes debate and discussion on topics of concern to the members of the community, by candidates in office, candidates for office and others. IND believes in the right to free political speech, but believes strongly that personal attacks, profanity, intimidating or threatening gestures or words, attempts to silence speakers or similar inappropriate behaviors are unacceptable. Individuals engaging in such behaviors will be asked to leave. And then just a housekeeping note, one, you're on Zoom, please make sure your Zoom name matches your real name, so no, please iPhone, please make your no initials so we can actually give you marking for attendance. If you're watching on Facebook Live, please leave a comment so we know it's you. And also if you're in the room, because there are microphones in the ceiling, please try to speak up so everyone can hear us. With that all the way, so we do have a pretty big agenda for this evening, but first up, I would like to call up our council member and endorsed candidate, Lincoln Ressler. And as some of you may know, he also has a new title, Dad, so we'd like to present him with the official
It's not for you, it's for the kid.
You're almost small enough.
Oi, all around. Is there somewhere you want me to stand for the?
Go for it. I don't
Do
care.
you want me to stand down here?
Wherever you want.
Okay, great. I'll stand
Stand
down.
on the ceiling, I don't care.
Well, it is great to be with IND. I first and foremost, just from the bottom of my heart, want to say thank you. Getting on the ballot is not an easy thing to do. It is quite onerous and takes a ton of time and energy and work. And we got over 500 terrific signatures, thanks to the volunteers at IND, that made a tremendous difference. And thanks to your hard work, I saw Hal and Art at train stations and many others at farmers markets, at civic association meetings, gathering signatures, and it really means a lot. So I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. We are thrilled to be on the ballot. As you may have heard, about a week before petitioning wrapped up, our fine Brooklyn County leader decided to put up a candidate against me, Sabrina Gates, somebody who's probably familiar to this club. I think it'll be her fourth time on the ballot in 5 years. I think she got 5% of the vote in the city council race in 2021 and more success, although not victorious in district leader races in 2022 and 2024. She was petitioning at the very end of the process. And so we'll see if she has enough good signatures to make the ballot. Thanks to Seamus and others, we did have an opportunity to review her signatures and submitted some questions to the Board of Elections, and they'll take a look and issue a clerical report. I can say that there was also very significant fraud on her petitions as well, which we have extensive video proof of, which is an unusual thing in petitioning to have video proof of fraud. But we have 6 hours of it, in case anyone's bored and wants to watch. Sure. The witnesses who put their names on the signatures for her petitions, for about 40% of her petitions, didn't actually gather the signatures. And we have video evidence to show who the person was who did gather the signatures. So I hope that it doesn't come to a court case, because that's not fun for anybody. But there are arcane but important rules to the petitioning process, and we all know them, and they have to be followed. And when somebody fakes who the witnesses are on their petitions and makes up the dates of when the signatures were gathered, that's illegal. That's actually a felony. So hopefully things will resolve themselves in the weeks ahead, but you never know how these things play out, as Joan can attest. So we're planning and preparing and organizing for a reelection campaign on June 24th. And just continuing to do the good hard work. I'll just share a couple updates from City Hall if that works. We had a really important hearing scheduled for today that I was really looking forward to, focused on federal funding risks facing New York City as a result of all of the chaos in Trump land, from the DOGE cuts to the pending reconciliation fight. And, for reasons I don't totally understand, or maybe I can imagine, Eric Adams chose to send no one from his administration. We asked for the budget office, we asked for the federal legislative affairs office, we asked for city hall reps, we asked for 8 different agencies that receive extensive federal funding. None of them attended. And unfortunately, over 8% of our budget in city government comes from the federal government. So we are highly dependent on federal funds, and that doesn't even include the billions of dollars that goes to NYCHA or health and hospitals or CUNY that's outside of the city budget. So if we continue to experience significant new federal cuts, it will be devastating for New York City. And we need the mayor to plan and to work with us in developing contingency approaches for how we can do our best to weather this storm. While we can't fill all of the gaps that have already been created by some of the federal cuts that have been imposed, I think it's really important that the city, we're a big city with a $110 billion budget, that we step up in smart ways and make targeted investments to protect the health and safety of New Yorkers. So this morning I released a plan with our speaker and our finance chair, Adrienne Adams and Justin Brannon, a plan that I drafted that basically focuses on key targeted investments in public health, in emergency management, and in counterterrorism, all areas in which the Trump administration has significantly defunded or politicized federal government operations, and where we need to step up to make sure that the next measles outbreak doesn't disproportionately impact the people of New York City. That the next time there's an extreme weather event, that we're actually ready and prepared to respond and can keep New Yorkers safe, and more. So that's some of the stuff that we're working, that's one of the big things that we're working on at City Hall is really trying to push to make sure that our city budget does include some critical protections. Other big issue that I've been really focused on of late is childcare vouchers. So some of you may have read about this in the press. I helped get a story published in the New York Times a couple weeks ago, but basically there are 62,000 children, 62,000 kids in New York City that, barring action in the state budget, are all going to lose their childcare over the course of the next year. We all know how expensive it is to live in New York City, let alone to raise a family in New York City. After rent, childcare, it's like a second rent each month. And as you know, I'm beginning to worry about these things more personally. And so I was just shocked to find out in early March that there was no plan whatsoever for the state budget to help support funding for these 62,000 childcare vouchers that were expiring. And the reason that nobody knew about it is because the mayor didn't tell anyone. The mayor informed the city council, as I mentioned, in early March, did no advocacy, essentially, except we did a handful of conversations with state legislators, did nothing to engage childcare providers, union advocates, business leaders, everybody who cares about childcare in New York City. And when we found out about it, I started to ring the bell as loud as I could. So we got an article published in the New York Times. I got a sign-on letter with 47 out of 49 city council members, from the far right to the far left, to all sign on saying we want funding in the state budget for childcare vouchers, for borough presidents, the controller, the public advocate. Then we reached out to partners in Albany and got 50 state legislators to sign on saying we need this funding for childcare. It's $900 million. It is a big chunk of change. Coming up with $900 million that was not in the governor's executive budget, that was not in the Assembly one house, not in the Senate one house, is a very hard thing to do in late March, even if we're still in mid-April and don't have a budget. It's very challenging at the late stage in the process to come up with such a large amount of money, but I do believe we're making progress. What we've pitched to the governor's team is that they put in some funding in the state budget and require that the city match their contribution so that the mayor, for his negligence, be forced to pay and contribute to make sure that we protect and preserve childcare funding for families that need it. And I hope that we'll be able to fill as much of that $900 million gap as possible, when the state budget gets adopted in the near future. If there are more neighborhood level issues that people want to talk about, like conditions of the borough-based jail or safety in Brooklyn Bridge Park or revitalization of empty storefronts, or things going on at PS8 or PS261, I am happy to talk about anything that may be of interest until Seamus tells me I have to shut up. Chris,
Yeah, so and for those who don't know, I'm a member of the Brooklyn Bridge Park Community Advisory. I've been very concerned with what I've been reading about the helicopter crash. The helicopter came out of the Wall Street heliport, could have just as easily been going up the East River as the Hudson River, and then over the park where Brooklyn in general. There were apparently maintenance issues, no data recorders, find out what happened. Yeah, people have been complaining about the helicopter situation, particularly the noise, for years, but is the council or the city taking any action at this point to address the broader question?
So thank you for that question, and I do believe that the helicopter operator of that company is already shut down as a result of their malfeasance, and thank God. But I strongly agree with you. One of the first pieces of legislation that I introduced when I arrived in city council, and Councilmember Shahana Neef was a co-prime sponsor of the bill on it from day one, was to ban non-essential helicopter travel from our city helipads. I don't understand why these helipads, the helipad at Wall Street, where this awful tragic flight departed, or the helipad at East 30th Street, are city-owned property. Why do we have non-essential helicopters so that the uber rich can get to the Hamptons or JFK faster? Or so that tourists can see the city from above? The view from Brooklyn Bridge Park, as you can attest, Chris, is plenty beautiful. And should work just fine for tourists. So I have pushed very hard on this legislation. My understanding is that an alternative bill to reduce non-essential helicopter flights and phase them out eventually is more likely to move forward in the council and hopefully in the near future. That bill essentially would impose some reductions on the current non-essential flights that happen. And when these EVOLs, the electric helicopters, are finally approved by the feds, then the traditional helicopters would be prohibited from city helipads. So it is in all likelihood a few years, but they've been saying it's gonna be a few years for many years. So I don't really know the timeline. What I would say is this: I think my bill is the right solution at the city level. So if you have any other friends in the council other than Shahana and I who are deeply committed to this, Brewer's deeply committed to this, there are a few of us, please reach out to them. Secondly, there's a state bill that's important that bans non-essential helicopter travel from Hudson River State Park on the west side, where there's another helipad. Last year, Brad Hoylman and Tony Simone got their bill passed through the legislature, and the governor vetoed it. I don't know why, she shouldn't have. We should push that bill through the state legislature again this year. And thirdly, ultimately, this is a federal issue. What we can do at the city level is control city-owned helipads, just as Brad and Tony are focused on a state-owned helipad in Hudson River State Park. But it's federal airspace. And so we need Congressman Goldman and others in Washington to demonstrate, to help us get the FAA to act. I know Nydia, Jerry, and others, Carolyn, for many years have fought hard on this issue, as Joan can attest, and I know she has fought hard on this as well, and Joanne has been a great ally and champion on this as well. But that's where you ultimately stop the New Jersey flights. I've been in touch with New Jersey legislators and municipal elected officials to partner together to push. My hope was that if we could pass our bill in New York City, that we could get some folks in New Jersey to follow suit. And we'll go wherever Shane is something on there.
Wherever, you're
Go ahead,
good.
let's start with the former president.
Thank you. I saw your mail endorsement that this is great to see. I'm just curious because it didn't exactly align with the piece strategy of the board candidates, and I think folks know you're president for Zelmar. So can you speak to why the decision was to kind of leave him out of the mix?
Great question. Can I repeat the question for the people online?
Yeah.
The question was, why was Elnor not on the slate of mayoral candidates that myself and others endorsed today? So just for folks who may not have seen it in the Times, Congressman Velasquez, who's been a real mentor for me, and 6 other elected officials, we collectively endorsed 3 candidates for mayor unranked. So we endorsed Brad, like IND, Adrian, and Zora. And in the future, we will be rolling out ranked, I will be doing my own personal ranking of those candidates. And I can say for me, Brad and Adrian are the top two. Why was Zellner not on the list? Zellner is a great candidate. He's, as you know better than me, super smart and has been a great leader in the state senate. I really think that the election of Andrew Cuomo is a threat to our democracy. Well, that's maybe a little strong. It is a threat to good government in New York City. I do not know a meaner bully than Andrew Cuomo. And I think that he is coming back on a vindication tour and will be as vindictive as we have ever seen an elected official be. And I say that knowing full well who the president of the United States is. And I think if we have a chance to beat Andrew Cuomo, it's important that the field narrow and there be some coalescing around a top contender. And I don't yet know who that's gonna be. And ranked choice voting should give an opportunity for votes to glob together and to hopefully coalesce and build a majority of 50+1. But someone in the race is gonna have to step up and be the real alternative. And I think in our conversations, we felt like these three people were the most likely at this stage to be that contender to qualify.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the privatization of public space, specifically in the context of the proposed casino that they want to build in Coney Island, which would build over a large part of the amusement area and take over there. In addition to the casino license, as you know, there's going to shortly be in front of the city council a proposal to privatize several of the public streets, to hand them over to this casino developer to allow him to build much larger structures than he would otherwise, to build into the skies, literally take the skies of Coney Island away, and to change what is the people's playground, has always been the people's playground, into a playground for the privileged.
Yeah.
And as you know, this is going to be in front of the city council shortly. It's with city planning now. And particularly for Democratic politicians to be trying to arrange things for the benefit of a billionaire developer at the expense of residents who live there and existing long-term business owners, including all the people who own the amusements, all the owner of the Wonder Wheel came out against the casino, the owner of the Luna Park Amusement Park came out against the casino. I live in Luna Park Houses, which is right across the street from there, the largest, one of the largest Mitchell Lama developments in New York State. Our board of directors came out the casino.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask you about, again, the privatization of public space and how appropriate that is for particularly Democratic politicians to be trying to arrange that. Two of the main lobbyists for the casino are two former Democratic city councilmen.
Yeah, I think I got your
So,
question. Thank you for asking it, and I will say broadly, I don't love all of these casino proposals, and I am concerned about them in general. The way that the approval process has really been structured is there are some decisions that come to the city council. If there's parkland alienation, and it goes to the state legislature, and it will then come to us for a home rule message to approve. If there's a zoning change that's needed, it will come to the full council to adopt it. And so for each of the different proposals, there are some elements that come to us to vote. There is a separate structure, as you know, because you live across the street and care about this, but for the edification of the group, of the local elected officials from Coney Island have to come together and meet and make a determination of whether they support the project. And so that includes the council member, assembly member, senator, congressman, borough president, I think it's all of them. Collectively will meet, and if you need a majority of those votes, four of the six, to support a project. And so I basically, and for all the projects that are being considered, Coney Island, Flushing Meadows, Corona Park, West Side, East Side, Bronx one would give the Trump organization millions of dollars, in case anyone didn't know that. That's totally crazy. They own land and get a huge payout if the ballot Senate was for there. So that one I'm most skeptical of. But beside the point. My broad approach is the local elected officials, they are gonna be determinative in what makes sense in their communities. And so I don't know, my sense is there isn't enough support in Coney Island for this casino to go forward. But I don't know that everyone's taking a strong position at this time, but it's the local elected officials that are gonna make that decision.
We've sent to all the members of the city council our petition that numbered well over 8,000, which we only started doing in December. Which I think shows the very strong opposition both in my community and throughout New York because Coney Island really, it belongs to everybody anymore, if it's the people's playground.
I really
So I think it
do.
affects everyone. And just for everyone's edification, besides the casino license, the casino developer in Coney Island is seeking this special permission to demap and build over several of the public streets, which will be before the city council shortly, and you will have a vote on that.
And Councilmember Brandon will be the point person in guiding the council on and giving his best guidance on
Yes.
what makes sense or doesn't make sense for Coney Island.
Yeah, and we've been trying to, influence them on that.
I have to be home at 7:30 for bedtime, I will do one more question, and I'll try to be quick.
Follow-up question, so I also am concerned about like the possibility of like affordable housing in Brooklyn, specifically looking at how a lot of these corporations are having purposely vacant storefronts. So they can, do rent speculation and get more rent in the future. What is the city council doing to increase the amount of affordable housing for New Yorkers? And what is the commitment for making sure that there are not corporations that are coming to really monopolize public space like she was also saying?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think.
Could you repeat it?
You'll tell me if I don't do you justice, but I think the basis, the crux of the question was, what is the city council doing to generate more affordable housing? Concerns about vacant storefront, concerns about corporations taking advantage of public space. Anything else you want to add? So, I think that, if you were to go into any room in New York City and ask what's the number one issue, everyone's gonna agree. It's the affordability crisis. I mean, in our council district, a quarter of tenants pay majority of their income in rent. That's a lot. But if you go up to the West Bronx, where our housing chair, Pierina Sanchez represents the area, one of the poorest districts in the city, a majority of her tenants pay majority of their income in rent. I mean, just think about how hard it is to get by when a majority of your money is going to rent every month, what you have left over for utilities and food and anything else. I was reading last week that the median price for an available apartment in Brooklyn right now is $4,000. I mean, who can afford that kind of rent? I mean, things have just gotten so far out of control. And so we need, I think, fundamentally to expand housing supply. And Shahana and I have pushed hard to try and work to expand housing in our council districts. We have two of the council districts that have added the most housing in New York City over the last number of years.
Yes, sir.
We have to do a lot more, and we need affordable housing. It's not just about adding luxury units, it's about adding units that people can actually afford. But if we do add a significant amount of new housing altogether, it should help increase supply and make it more affordable for everybody. So in my district, we built more new housing in the last 15 years. We've had more housing starts than any other council district in the city of New York. That's a lot of housing. There are other districts, like we were mentioning, Bay Ridge, in that council district, Canarsie, they've added a couple dozen units of housing in the last decade. They have not done their part. We need every neighborhood to do its part. So we passed something called the City of Yes earlier this last year. That is a proposal to add some housing in every neighborhood in New York City. We'll add about 80,000 units of housing over the next decade. That will make a difference. We're also pushing for opportunities to build more housing in our communities wherever we can, especially affordable housing. I have a bill in the city council that I'm pushing really hard for that would ensure that whenever public land is being redeveloped, so city-owned land, or land the MTA owns, or anything like that, when we're redeveloping it, that it goes to nonprofits building 100% deeply affordable housing. Because when it's city-owned land, the land is free, right? I mean, it's there's no cost to purchase it, it's our property. That property has to be truly affordable to working families. And we have a say over ULURP projects. So like when there's a change in zoning on a site to allow for greater density or to switch it from commercial and manufacturing to residential, it comes to the city council for approval. Councilmember Hanif just approved a great project in the South Slope that will significantly expand housing at an old factory site there. In a site in Borum Hill that used to be in my district, it's now in her district, we converted a factory. We approved the rezoning of a factory into a 9-story building in Borum Hill, which is pretty big for that area. And what was really cool is that the factory had a lease for 2 parking lots for the next 50 years. And the city of New York owned the parking lots, but the factory controlled the lease for 50 years. We said to the factory, if you want to redevelop your factory into housing, then you need to give up those 2 parking lots and give them back to the city to turn into affordable housing. We're building, and Councilmember Hanif is now leading the way on this, 100% affordable housing on those 2 sites. 1 building's for seniors, 1 building's for families. It will be truly affordable to the working people in Borum Hill, Gowanus, and across our communities. So there's a lot more that we need to do. There's no magic bullet and it's not gonna get better in a day, but we have to keep the affordability crisis as our North Star, as the top issue. We gotta do more to protect tenants, but I've already talked too much. So with that, I will say, thank you all for having me. It's really good to see you all.
So much, Councilmember. Always a pleasure having you here. Let us know however we can help with your reelection.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I know the congressman's on his way, so we have a little time to kill, so over here, I'll just bring up some of our candidates or their representatives, so just going by order I have my agenda. I'll call up Olivia O'Brien from my Cornbrook's campaign.
I might just stay here because I'm a bit trapped. I don't know if people on Zoom can hear me okay, but hi everyone, and on behalf of Maya, happy holidays, Easter, Passover, spring break to all celebrating. She's currently in the hospital with Noam, who had a surgery today, but things aren't going well, but that's why she can't make it, so apologies there. From me, we are looking for volunteers per usual, so please sign up to DoorKnock Phone Bank. I can leave some cards at the front, and also you can sign up through the link on our website. Super important that we talk to voters. Thanks.
And of course, follow our emails, calendar, all that good stuff for ways to help out with all of our candidates. Anthony, you wanna come up?
Sure.
Anthony Orlando from Justin Brandon's campaign. Yeah.
I'll come up. Why not? Hi, folks. I'm Anthony Orlando. I'm from Justin Brandon's campaign. I'm the Brooklyn organizer. Thank you very much for having me. Just as a way of intro, I moved from DC about, when did I get fired? I used to work for USAID and I got fired.
Oh, you want to fire people?
I'm sorry?
You're one of the fire?
I'm one of the many. There's a bunch of us. Yeah, so that was not a fun experience, but this is a fun experience. So I'm back in New York. I went back and forth a lot in the past few years. I'm back here, very excited. Living down in Carroll Gardens, so in the district, and organizing for Justin. We had a really dynamic, fun campaign. Thank you and everybody for all the help, petitioning. We got 37,000 petitions put in, so that's the most in the comptroller race. And just also asking for assistance as well, any volunteering that folks would be interested in doing, knocking doors on weekends. I always hope for weather that is not too bad, but also not too good, so that people actually show up for those canvassing shifts. So thanks for that. And then we do phone banking during the week as well. We also have an internship program, so if you know any young-ish folks, college, high school, interested in volunteering a few hours a week on a more kind of regimented basis I will personally mentor them and give them leadership opportunities. Please do send that our way. I'll share info with Seamus. And finally, because I'm also taking up too much time, looking forward to putting together some sort of day of action at some point in the near future with IND, so we can get out there with Justin and he can rally the troops, so we can spread the word. Thank you, appreciate
Do you
it.
want to mention the pieces endorsements that he got? Accurate.
Yes, I'm trying to remember all of those, so many. So here we go, somebody's gonna fact check me. Just today, Nurses Union, which is awesome. And I don't know which one, I'm sure there's multiple. Paramedics. A couple other unions that I'm drawing a blank on, and I'll get back with the other, but we got nurses, we got paramedics, but UFA, of course, endorsed a while ago, which is
Wasn't it
awesome.
32 BJ?
Yes, 32 BJ, wonderful, thank you. Thanks for the real pros are here, so with that, I'm gonna sit down.
And speaking of helping out, I think Ira is organizing a group to help out at Garnering Plaza this weekend.
Say again?
Aren't you organizing a group to help Justin this weekend? Didn't you say?
I think, yeah.
It's supposed to be Grand Army Plaza, I think, on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's me. You can talk about
Yeah,
it.
so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, Let's chat after.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So anyone who wants to help out with Justin on this Saturday, talk to Anthony, and I guess also confer with Ira and Hal.
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
the team will be there.
yes.
Yeah.
Also, one of our endorsed candidates here is Janice Purvis. Candidate for Cookie Board Fund.
It's so nice to be here. I just wanted to briefly let everybody know, I was able to collect, over 3 times the amount of requisite signatures. I'm a judicial candidate, I'm running countywide, and that is with the help and support of IND. So things are going really well. And now I'm in the campaigning phase and, if anybody wants to help out, please reach out to me. That would be great. But thank you all so much for your support.
So speaking of petitioning, so comes to the best time of the year when we get to announce our leaderboard on that. We actually should get some drumsticks for that. So this, just so you know, like there is some overlap between different types of petitions. If everyone remembers, there's 3 types. Plus some people had singles, some people had their own. So there are some overlap with these numbers. So for Councilman Lincoln Wrestler, we collected 500 signatures. For Maya Kornberg, 967 signatures. For Crystal Hudson, 55. For Brad Lander and Antonio Bernoso, 1,549 signatures. For our slate of candidates, so judicial delegates, judicial alternates, judges, 1,534. So total that was collected, which there's a difference, I'll explain in a second. Total collected 1,730 signatures. Total that was submitted, because there are some bad sheets, things like that, was 1,457 signatures. So now for the best part, the top petitioners of this year, and they do come with presents or prizes. Sit here. Well, one I will not be able to give in person because that person is not here. That is Art Levy with 190 signatures. Number 2 at 214 signatures, Hal Friedman.
Yeah.
The top signature gatherer is a jerk who does not deserve anything. With 269 signatures, it's me.
All right, come on up. Here.
Okay, great. So yeah, we'll just hold tight for 1 second since Congressman Goldman is literally on the elevator coming up. So. But as filler for a second, as was mentioned in our email, so we're going to be doing ranked, since we passed an amendment at our last meeting, we'll have ranked endorsements this cycle. So everyone who is in attendance at this meeting, once the ballot is finalized, for races that have more than 2 candidates, we will be sending out, it's going to be a three different ballots. First one's going to be if we do endorse in that race, do a ranked endorsement. Second part will be how many spots do we give it to, give a ranked endorsement for. Third one is going to be on if we do or do not endorse a person. So first round is simple majority. Second round is ranked vote, and third one is a 2/3 vote. And it's all going to be done electronically. Everyone who's a member in good standing that's in attendance will be receiving ballots. It's not coming out tonight. It's going to come out once the OE finalizes the ballot, which will probably be in about 2 weeks or so. But one thing also is sort of tradition. We do usually also endorse our delegate and alternate slate, which I shall bring up and screen share. So is there a motion to endorse our slate? Moved by Joe. Is there a second? Second by Alyssa. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Awesome. So cool. Yeah, close that out. Yes, And I'm sure he'll talk about this, but just some upcoming events everyone knows. Of course, helping out with Justin at Grand Orange Plaza this weekend. I'm sure the Congressman will mention this, but next Tuesday, Congressman Goldman is holding a town hall. Check your email because it's been in there as well as our calendar. On the 30th, we're going to be doing a phone bank with Fort Bradlander and Antonio Reynoso. And then on May 5th, we will be holding the 52nd Assembly District Committee is going to be holding its biannual meeting. Full disclosure, I'm also chair of that. It's going to be at St. Francis College, and it's going to be discussing ranked choice voting, since that was actually, we sent out a survey back in January asking folks about what issues are important to them, what things they want us to learn more about, and that was the top thing. So we'll have Jan from Brooklyn Voters Alliance coming to speak to us. But yeah.
What was the date?
May 5th. So if you're on the Assembly District Committee, you will be receiving a notice in the mail and via email. And if you're not on there, of course, all are welcome. Information will be in our regular emails and also in the IND calendar. So indbrooklyn.org/events has everything up there. And we're constantly adding events. If anyone has any suggestions, please let us know. I know Vicky had a great suggestion at our last meeting about the Hands Up rally, which I know many of us did attend. Which yeah. And there's also a rally, I have it on the IND calendar in support of higher education happening. It was moved, it's now happening at 4 o'clock at Foley Square tomorrow. So and certainly, what?
Against the Save That tomorrow at Bowling Green.
Can you send me the info on that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Congressman's going to be.
Yes. But certainly, I'm not sure if people heard, but certainly the attack on higher education is more pertinent than ever. It was announced that the IRS is starting to try to look at removing Harvard's tax exempt status. So the attack on higher education is very, very real. I think he's slowest elevator ever, I swear.
Jamie, shall we call Karen?
But yeah, sure.
You want me to call?
What?
You want me to call Karen?
Yeah. Yeah. Callie, you said he was just here? Or?
No, that was a mistake.
Oh.
The congressman is not here, but he hopefully is coming.
Oh, okay.
2 minutes.
Okay. Greg, I know you said you messaged me that you had something. Do you want to come off mute? Greg Monty?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. It's good to see everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, from the UFT, I have some news that I'd like to share. May 6th, the steps of Borough Hall at 4 p.m. We will be having a massive rally with our members and elected officials to address fixing Tier 6. This is the unjust pension tier that was created in cover of night by someone named Andrew Cuomo. And we have been working to fix it ever since. We've had multiple victories, but we want to finish the work now. In the past sessions, we have already managed to get folks vested after 5 years, down from 10, guaranteeing a pension for over 85,000 members, and lowering the final average salary for to the same as Tier 4 people for 3 years, the highest final salaries instead of 5, which would have diluted the amount. So please come out the steps of Borough Hall May 6th to fix Tier 6. It's going to be 4 p.m. This was at the request of New York State United Teachers, the State Teachers Union. State elected officials were invited, but they're all in session. So we will be having elected officials from any office who wish to join us there to speak. We already have folks confirmed, and we look forward to seeing them. We're also going to have members speak about their own personal experiences as Tier 6 members. In addition to that, we've been meeting with City Council members to get our para pay legislation passed. Paraprofessionals are paid substantially lower than other educators. They're now indispensable in the public school setting because an ever-increasing number of students have IEPs, which are federally mandated under the IDEA, and will be now more important than ever because the Trump funding cuts continue. They are not being paid anywhere close to a livable wage. And we want to be able to circumvent collective bargaining because of pattern bargaining being so prohibitive. We wanted to be able to legislate this. This money will not come from the city's general fund. It is completely doable. And that's why we're generating as much support as possible in the council so that paras can be paid outside of collective bargaining effective immediately. As of right now, a paraprofessional who retires this year will retire at $45,000 a year. That's insane. It's inconsistent with our progressive values, and it's also detrimental to students with IEPs. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. And that is actually perfect timing because we are now joined by New York 10's Congressman Dan Goldman. Nice to meet you. Okay, right here.
All right. Hi, everybody. Good to see you. Familiar faces. Good to be here with you. I do want to make sure that we leave some time for questions, so make sure I know what's on your mind. I'll give a little brief update, which is hard to do given everything that's happening in Washington. But we are, dealing with the daily influx of really disastrous decisions from the administration, ranging from completely senseless and irrational tariffs that are cratering the economy, to fighting with all of our allies, to cutting government funding in every way possible, and all of it designed really to both give President Trump more power and to pave the way for tax cuts that will benefit billionaires and large corporations. And so we unfortunately are in the minority, which means that we have no subpoena power and we have no ability to put legislation on the floor. But we do have our platform, we do have our voices, and we are using them more and more aggressively. And that's where we all come in together, because this is going to be a group effort. It's going to require all of us to engage, to speak out, to show up, because at the end of the day, the way we are going to stop the president is by not going at him directly, but by going at the Republican members of the Congress and the Republican senators. Donald Trump is not worried about re-election. He's paving the way to have a third term without an election. But all of the other elected officials do care about their re-election, and they are feeling the heat about the possibility, the likelihood of Medicaid cuts, SNAP cuts, attacking Social Security. And we are very aggressively setting the message and making sure that it gets through that this is not cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. This is cutting programs that have keywords and an algorithm that Elon Musk doesn't like. And it is devastating and destructive to the vast majority of Americans who are speaking out. And we are now going into Republican districts and Republican states, and we are hosting rallies and protests and town halls. I try to go on Fox News every week and they won't take me. So we're going to have to just get out in the field and get the message out directly. So that's a bit of a brief summary. There's obviously a tremendous amount going on every day. It feels like our democracy is further and further under attack. He's now directing the Department of Justice to criminally investigate individuals who have spoken out against him. They are disappearing people without due process. He is attacking the courts and defying court orders. The Republicans in Congress have given over all of their own authority to the president, so Congress is not serving as a check on the president. And I wish I were more optimistic, but I'm very, very concerned about his continued and methodical pushing the envelope further and further in trying to undermine our democracy, which doesn't have as much day-to-day impact as some of the economic things that he's doing, some of the economic issues, but will at some point, if it goes over the cliff, have a much greater effect on all of us. And so we can't forget that, and we can't let that go. Certainly, given my background and as a prosecutor, as an impeachment counsel, as someone very focused on the rule of law, I have been trying to push that more, just because that's more in my lane. But it's something that we all, I know, are cognizant of and certainly fighting back. So I could go on, but why don't I open it up? I'd love to hear what's on your mind and take questions. Good to see
I'm gonna
Shahana here, by the way.
Take the first question. One time I will take executive privilege in, so it's not fine the Constitution. Last Wednesday, I met with Kyla from your DC office about funding for ending tuberculosis worldwide. I know that you're in the minority, so you're not really probably in the best position on trying to get much appropriation through, but will you at the very minimum sign on to the Dear Colleague letter done being circulated by Representatives Vera and Wagner?
It's Representative Wagner?
Yeah.
So that's bipartisan, so that
I
has.
have a copy of all the congressional
That
acts
has
right here.
that has a better shot than most, but I assume I will. I certainly support funding to stop tuberculosis. You know, it's the appropriations process is going to be very interesting, because obviously the president is trying to cut so many things, but all of these members of Congress obviously have constituents who suffer from disease, suffer from sickness, who rely on Medicaid, who rely on SNAP. I mean, all of these Republicans in our area here, the four of them, have approximately a third of their constituents who get healthcare through Medicaid. So, I mean, making our voices heard about that, they know it, and they know that that's a loser. And so even though Trump is attacking everything and all funding as, you know, worthless, we will see much more bipartisan funding and appropriations. And, you know, we have been instructed to proceed as normal with the appropriations process. I don't know what that means, but that's how we're moving forward. So I assume I will. I just have to take a look at it. You want me?
Becky?
I I really appreciate and share your optimism that 26 at the midterms will.
Louder.
If we're allowed to have midterms, and people are allowed to vote and they can say back, that's what become disenfranchised women across the country. I can't wait that long. I'm watching too much destruction happen every day. What do we do?
So I that's exactly what I say, because a lot of people say, all right, we'll flip the House in November. No, this is going on right now. We cannot wait a year and a half. I think the good thing is that I think personally, and our effective strategy is the same. So it's the same for the election, but it's also the same to stop this reconciliation, to stop them from cutting Medicaid. Because if we put enough pressure on the vulnerable Republicans to make it very clear to them that their job is in more jeopardy because of their constituents and the election in November than it is because of Donald Trump's threats and bullying or Elon Musk's money in a primary, the calculus changes. And you may have seen today that 12 House Republicans published a letter to Speaker Johnson setting limits on the Medicaid cuts that they would be willing to support and the ones they would not be willing. Now, we've all seen this before. They generally are spineless and cave, you know, like fold like a cheap suit, but they know this is a real issue. And so I'm going to have a rally in a couple weeks, most likely in Nicole Malliotakis's district on Medicaid. She's got over 200,000 of her constituents on Medicaid. You see people going around the country, and we're all now starting to do that. it used to be sort of taboo to do that, but we can't abide by the old norms under these circumstances. So by the hands-off march, by going to these rallies, by protesting, by writing, by calling, certainly by getting anybody you know in those Republican districts. The other thing that's already happening is a lot of the independent expenditures and super PACs are already spending money in those vulnerable Republican districts now, not waiting until September of 2026, but they're doing it now to inform their voters about the cuts that these Republicans are about to make so that they will put pressure on their members because it's a 3-vote majority. So we can do this. We did it last time around with the Affordable Care Act when the numbers were much worse. So don't underestimate the power of the people and the power of our voice. And I really do believe that continued aggressive efforts on that front will make a difference.
Does that mean there's nothing to be done to check the abuse of executive power?
Well, there's a lot to be done. It's just mostly litigation in the courts. We don't have standing in Congress to challenge all of these executive orders, but we are working very closely with a lot of outside groups that are filing lawsuits. The state attorneys general have been filing a lot of lawsuits. It's kind of crazy that, part of it is that if we did have standing, you would still need a vote, and the Republicans are in the majority, so they would not support it. But the courts, and this is why I'm so worried about the courts and the attacks and the defiance that, look, they've given over Congress's checks and balances and our authority, but there still remain the courts. And I'm not thrilled with the makeup of the Supreme Court, but that is the process that we have, and that if it is not adhered to, then we are truly in a constitutional crisis, and then it's all of us taking to the streets. But that's the real concern.
Okay.
Here's my question like this. If Trump keeps rejecting all court decisions, what I would call, Trump logic, whatever it is, what remedy do they have? I know we have, let's say the courts hold him in contempt. Now they decide to send the federal marshals after him. Bondi runs the Justice Department. Trump runs Bondi. What recourse do the courts have to hold him, in any logic of following court orders?
Well, it will be a step-by-step process to enforce the court orders. Even today, Judge Boasberg ruled that the administration had outright defied his order, and that the administration should be held in criminal contempt unless they have a last-ditch effort to explain themselves. What that will mean is that somebody, and I don't know, it won't be Donald Trump, but somebody will be held in criminal contempt. And so, that's there are different ways of doing contempt from a court. What I'm used to as a former prosecutor is that if you refuse to testify in the grand jury, you can be put in jail for the duration of that grand jury until unless and until you are willing to testify. It doesn't work that way in civil cases, and criminal contempt may just depend on Bondi, filing a criminal charge, which we know is not going to happen. But I really don't want to underestimate the power of our voices, because, and this is one of the things that I was frustrated about what happened with the continuing resolution and the budget resolution, is our voices make a difference. When the president froze all federal funding that first week, there was an uproar and outrage, and he rescinded it the next day. He has pulled back many of the things that he has done. And that's not, I mean, that's in response most likely to his fellow Republican elected officials, but they are responding because of their constituents. And so what I was frustrated is there was sort of an assumption that if Donald Trump did the worst thing ever during government shutdown and just shut down the whole judiciary, that we would have no recourse. And I think that underestimates people. And so a lot of what we are going to do is going to have to be speaking out, protesting, using our voices. The judges will do everything they can possibly do, but it is very unpopular to defy court orders. And he recognizes that because he is not admitting to defying any court orders. He has said he will follow the court orders. He's just doing it on the margins. I mean, the way that the press secretary described the Supreme Court's opinion in the Abrego Garcia case today was completely absurd. I'm not sure if you all saw it, but she said the Supreme Court definitively said that Donald Trump, that the administration does not have to do anything to get him back, which of course is not what they said, but that's how they're sort of skirting the issue. At some point, if they just outright say, I'm not going to listen to this, we're in a different place.
Thank you.
There's some questions in the chat. Since you've answered some of these, hi Congress from Jonathan Kopp. Hi Congressman, what are you and the rest of the New York delegation going to do to protect, defend and protect students at Columbia and other schools from arrest and deportation without due process?
The fact that that they have whisked people away without due process is horrifying. And I mean, we all understand this, but due process is the very basic foundation of our system and our rule of law. And there will be decisions made in courts that some will like, some won't like, but the Abrego Garcia case is the perfect example of why due process is so important. If he had gotten due process and he had gone to a court, the judge would have seen the withholding of removal, which says he cannot be deported to El Salvador, and he would have not been removed to El Salvador. But there was no due process given. And now to have violated the rights of him and the basic fundamental, decent rights of all of us and human decency, the fact that they've admitted that they were in error and they won't bring him back. I'm a lawyer. I used to do legal analysis on TV, and I get asked a lot about the court cases. And I was on CNN today, and I kept getting asked about the technicalities of the Supreme Court case, and I just said, let's just take a step back. Forget about the case. This guy was disappeared without due process. And now the administration, which is paying El Salvador to keep him there, is saying they can't do anything. There's just basic morals, basic human decency that should motivate anybody to say, okay, yeah, we'll bring him back, then go through due process. Do whatever you want to do, but it's beyond unacceptable, and I do, it requires the right amount of outrage. Unfortunately, there are so many things like that. One of the challenges that we have is you can't break through on 12 or 15 different issues, right? And so we have to be smart, not to let significant ones just fall by the wayside, but also to pick our specific issues that really resonate so that we can penetrate. And that, I think, is the pathway that we're going to need to push back on this. But the due process falls in that bucket of directing the Department of Justice for the first time ever, at least publicly, to investigate individual people, to skirt court orders. I mean, these are the real, I mean, the third term stuff is the real precipice of this attack on democracy. And he just keeps pushing the envelope.
Do another one from online, then go back to the room. From Susanna, are you aware of any, or are you pushing for any actions that the National Democratic Party can take to be more responsive to Democratic voters and to engage them?
Yeah, look, there's after the November election, there has been and continues to be a lot of discussion on the national level, on the local level, about where things went awry and how we can fix them. And one of the things that Susanna pointed out, which is I think really, really important, is we need much more year-round engagement. We need that here in New York. We need, as from the Democratic Party standpoint, Trump gained a lot in a lot of different areas. And part of it is that our state party has not been built or designed and has not executed on making sure that there is regular and consistent engagement. Because ultimately, I think why we lost is our values were not properly translated to the American people. And part of that was Republican misinformation, but part of that was our own doing. And ultimately, our policies are so much better for the vast, vast majority of American people. We have to figure out a better way of translating that in language and actions and engagement that people understand. And I think that that's, if I were to sum up where we went wrong, it was we were not connecting with people and we were not really translating our values more than our policies. I think we often get wonky in talking about policy, but we've got to relate to people and make sure they understand that we are the party that is there for them. And that requires, as Susanna pointed out, I think much more year-round engagement.
Matt?
Just to drill down a little deeper on that, Donald Trump did win for a reason, because more people liked what he had to say. And there's still a lot of areas where Donald Trump's very popular, whether we like it or not. He's actually still above water in only one area, and that's in immigration. So there's still areas where he's actually very popular, has a lot of good ideas. So taking what you just said, Congressman, what areas and what specific policies do you think we as Democrats that Donald Trump won on should we be looking at to try and absorb what the people told us and try and maybe not change what we have to say, but maybe call up what he had to say to be more in line with our values and win them back? Because at the end of the day, yeah, you can win your primary next year and then you can spend the whole summer, slamming Mai Tais on the beach. You're going to win re-election. It's the voters in the swing districts we got to win. So what are we going to do to get those people who have a preference for Trump or showed a preference for Trump last year? What issues do you think we could talk to that's really, what specific issues do you think we could talk to on that?
So the two issues that really drove most Trump voters were the economy, inflation, cost of living as one, and immigration as the other. And he's self-destructing on the economy right now. And I think frankly, I find it very hard to focus on the politics right now because people are really getting hurt and going to get hurt. And I just don't sure, we could take advantage of what he's doing for political gain. But in the near term, I do think we need to do everything we can to stop it. But yes, we need to figure out a better economic message that, as I said, translates our policies and our values, which is that we want easiest way I can sum it up, at least from my vantage point, is I want everyone in this country to get the opportunity and the access to pursue and achieve the American dream. And if that means that we have to even some things out, we have to help some people a little bit, we have to invest government money in some areas to give people that little boost so they have the time and the energy and the education and the childcare and the healthcare and the housing so that they can really pursue the American dream. That's what we need to do. And it's, I think we sometimes get lost in a lot of, a lot of tangential things is the way I would put it. On the immigration, it's very frustrating. I will speak for myself. I would love to work with Republicans on immigration. I would love to have significant, serious immigration reform. There are ways that we can, I think, very easily do it that will preserve our values, but will also, keep an orderly process, keep our borders secure. If the asylum process took 1 year instead of 7 or 8 years, then you would have half as many people trying to get into this country. The actual numbers, about 20 to 25% of people who apply for asylum ultimately get it, but it takes so long and they get work permits while they're waiting that they're here 7, 8, 9, 10 years. In the best case scenario, obviously there are situations where they don't take advantage of that. But we need more lawful visas. We need to streamline the asylum process so that we make sure we are still offering asylum, but that we're doing it in a much more efficient way so that it doesn't pull people who should wait in line, and we should have a more orderly process. It's not rocket science. But that's not what they want to do. I mean, they want to demonize immigrants. They want to terrorize immigrants. I mean, the notion that they have created this, even with Mr. Garcia, the fact they're calling him on Fox News a terrorist.
And they said they were gonna do that, and the people voted for them anyway, so how do we counteract that?
I don't really buy that argument. That's the argument that Trump uses all the time, that, I said I was going to get revenge and retribution, so therefore it's okay. I said I was going to cut the Department of Education, so therefore it's legal for me to do that. I don't subscribe to that theory, and I don't think that I'm certain people did not expect his promises of lowering costs and having this magnificent economy would turn into what we have right now. So there are a lot of people with buyer's remorse. On the immigration front, again, I think that as more and more of this really outrageous conduct happens in the context of immigration, people are going to say, no, this is not what I voted for. And I will say the one thing that I agree with you is we cannot just reflexively oppose everything that Donald Trump does. And you're not going to find many people who have stronger feelings about him than I do. But at this point, we know that some of his outrageous statements and some of the crazy stuff he says does not really move the needle. And that some of it, a lot of it, resonates with a significant swath of the public. And we cannot just assume or act as if every idea he has is a terrible idea, and because it's his idea, we're going to oppose it and we're going to resist. And so I do think that part of our learning process is recognizing, because I do agree with you that much of he has pushed forward with much of what he said. He has done it in a much, much more aggressive and overreaching way. But people did vote for, notwithstanding the fact that he's a convicted felon and charged and all that stuff. And so we have to recognize that that he does tap into something, and we cannot just push that to the side and ignore it.
We have time for one more question. Karen?
Hi, Congressman.
Hi, Karen.
Thank you. Thanks for coming to IND.
My pleasure.
Yeah, the most biggest assembly district in the state of New York. Thanks. So I have a softball question for you. AOC and Bernie Sanders went out on the road. They were phenomenal. It was great. The crowds were great, everything in the states that we needed it. I was wondering, how do you feel about you partnering up with a senator in another part of the country? You're a rock star, and you go out and maybe do the same thing and galvanize those people in those states that I think are ready to go with us, just need a little push. Because I saw what Bernie and AOC did, and I thought, my Congressman Dan Goldman could do this. You could hook up with a senator, and you guys would go out, or a woman, and do the same thing. So, my
Well,
question is, not that you wanted it, but
I think they get like 35,000 people.
they did.
Yeah,
But
I'm not sure I'd get more than 350.
You did the same thing.
Well, I appreciate your
To hook up, we'd
confidence.
love for you to do it. You're our congressperson. You are a rock star. We know that. Think about it, because it could
yeah.
be huge. They're turning voters
I
around.
tell you what I'm gonna start with.
Can you do it?
Is that I am gonna start getting out into Republican districts with rallies,
Great.
town halls.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. If you know, I don't quite have the message that AOC brings
Yes,
in
you
some.
do. That's the whole
I don't have the
thing.
delivery.
You do.
I don't have the delivery.
You do, and you do, and you're a rock star. If you
Well,
hooked
thank
up with a senator, you could go right now across the country,
Maybe
and we'd be so proud of you.
maybe Schiff and I should go on the most boring tour of legal analysis in the history of
Valley of California.
I think Karen has a good point. You need to work on delivery.
Yes, Cory Booker. Two of you.
Oh, I'd
Cory's
love it.
great.
Oh, it'd be.
And if you wanted, you could start with Staten Island, with what's her name, Muckagalot, whatever her name is.
That's where I'm starting.
But whoever's gonna run for president next time, this is when you gotta start, right now. Like, the problem is that people just don't feel inspired. There's a lot of anger and discontent. And then we don't see it from the national party. Everybody's acting like everything's kind of normal and we can't do anything, and it's depressing. We're ready and we don't see our leadership. We're the leaders right now. Right this minute, we need leaders. And we don't see it on a national level. And this is not towards you, this is just the whole party. You know what I mean? Everything's just like kind of normal. Woe is me, what can we do? I don't know. I don't know, because we're close to a constitutional
Can I
crisis.
can I
And
ask
when you
you-
say when people hit the streets, I'm scared. He's gonna declare martial law. People really hit the streets, and then what? Then there's no courts. Like, at one point, I thought the big money people were gonna control him. Obviously, they don't have control over him. Then I thought the courts maybe, but if he was able to go martial law, then that's off limits too. Then where are we then? And that's what we're scared, but we don't see the party. We don't see. Cory Booker spoke a lot, so okay, that excited us a little bit, but then what? And we seem flat-footed, like, what's the plan? You knew he won in November, then we still don't have a plan?
So can I ask you a question on that? When you say a plan, do you mean like what do you mean? You mean an affirmative position, affirmative argument, an affirmative? Are you saying what Democrats
You
want to
answer
do?
the things he's doing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you watch me in committee or you watch me on TV, but
Get up and scream on the floor. I need that energy now.
yeah.
Like, everybody's just
Telling us
calm.
to show up, we show up. We had 100,000 people on April 5th.
I was there.
Hopefully, we have many more on April 19th. We need you folks to show up. You figure it out. You're our Congress people. You figure out how to fight back. We're doing everything that we can do in our power, and we are terrified. Terrified. We're not angry, we're terrified. And the National Party and our elected officials on every level, they are not acting like they are terrified. We need to see the terror in your eyes so we understand, we know that you understand where we are at. And we do not feel that. And this is the second time I've heard you say, you need us to show up. We are showing up. But where the heck are you?
Well, I was at that April 5th rally.
Yeah, but
And
yeah, okay.
I
Well, where
am-
were you before that?
And it's not just you personally, the whole party, it seems like.
Well,
Yeah, it's-
I asked you the question because we get this a lot, and I am terrified myself. I you know, and spend all of my time trying to figure out a way, what's coming next, how to anticipate it, how to reach people, how to have an impact, how to stop him from what he's doing. That is my exclusive focus. I think, and the reason I ask this question is, we can have, I mean, people talk about, well, what's the affirmative message? What are the Democrats? What's the alternative? My view is right now, that doesn't matter because we're not in control. If we lose this initial message battle and they convince the majority of Americans that all they're doing is rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse, and that Donald Trump is taking it to foreign countries and China, and he's a tough guy, and he's defending America, and he's bringing manufacturing and business back here. If they succeed in setting that message, it doesn't matter what our plans are. But if we win that initial messaging battle, then we set the floor. And at that point, then we are going to be able to much more easily set a contrast. Now, it's frustrating. I mean, I can't tell you how frustrated I am. I write letters, calling out all of this stuff. I spend a lot of time doing it, and I'm sure they take them and throw them in the trash. But we'll keep doing it. I am on every possible media platform trying to reach as many people as possible. Go on YouTube and watch me in committees. I'm not a wallflower, and I'm upset.
Why didn't you call for Schumer to resign?
Hold on.
Can I offer a counterpoint to some of the?
We do have to wrap up.
Here, yeah. If you're sitting in this room at 8:30 at night, you are politically engaged. Personally, I don't need to be inspired to be politically engaged. That may be a good goal in part, but what we've got to find a way, and what you've got to find a way to do is to engage with the voters that aren't in this room, that aren't Democrats at the moment, because they didn't vote for us. They felt disengaged from the party, and a lot of what's been going on, I sat in on one of the Democratic People's Town Halls last month. And it was essentially a rally, the sort of thing I think a lot of you would be inspired by. It wasn't turning any other voters because they weren't in the room. And we've got to find a way to build not only the message, but the message delivery to reach out to those people. That's got to be our primary goal.
I think it's more than just the message. I think we actually have to do something. And I think a lot of the anger was because the last two Democratic administrations really fell short on the economic front, on the social front. And I think we can talk all day about messaging, but we really need to do something. And we can, we're not in power. There's a reason for that, but we can still do things if we're not in power. And I think the best defense is a solid offense. And I think we just need to say, this is who we are, this is what we're about, these are the mistakes we made, people. Because those are what they want to hear. They want to hear that we are not the same people that we were 6 months ago.
I mean, yes, I think that actually,
I've seen upstate New York, I've been in New York all my life, I've spent a lot of time in upstate New York, which is solidly red, Congressman. I've seen solid red districts live, and it's because people like Kirsten Gillibrand goes into the heart of the red country and she sits and has coffee. And they vote for her.
Yeah, I would just wrap up, guys. I would say one thing, where I would disagree with you. The first 2 years of the Biden administration were arguably the 2 most productive years of any administration in generation. So you say we don't do anything, but I could sit here and cite to you so many things that he did. Now, part of the problem is that those things have long shelf lives. And the benefits of them happen way out in the future, which is why no other politicians ever want to do them, because you don't get the immediate benefit. But when you talk about the Inflation Reduction Act and the Infrastructure Act and the CHIPS and Science Act and the bipartisan gun bill and the PACT Act, I mean, that's half of them. There's more. That's doing something. And so I agree with you in that we have to be humble and recognize. I mean, when Kamala Harris said on The View that I wouldn't change anything, that was a death knell, right? That was ridiculous. And we can't be, so certain of our own correctness that we are not adjusting. And I think that was this gentleman's point as well. But let's not, let's be real here. We got a lot done. We got a hell of a lot more done than Donald Trump ever did when he was president. All he effectively did was cut taxes for large corporations and billionaires.
Well,
guys, come on, we gotta wrap up.
You know, showing me right now that he's talking about a third term and they're going all around and nobody's really saying no. That
John,
can't
come on, we
happen.
gotta stop.
Like he's
Yeah,
really putting
Congressman has to go.
signs that it's like a thing that's
I introduced a resolution in November that reaffirms that the 22nd Amendment says that you can only have 2 terms.
That's not gonna happen, so that people can understand
Yeah.
that that's not.
But if you
Yeah,
want to appeal
but,
to people.
we have to wrap it up.
I live in southern Brooklyn, and the reason that it's purple is because we lost our economic freedom decades ago. And now we're losing our political freedom. And for Democrats to resonate with the people where I live, there's a crisis of credibility. We have local Democratic politicians coming and telling us that they're giving us affordable housing. Nobody in my neighborhood can afford it. I was just talking before, they're trying to put a giant casino in my neighborhood and displace, residents that have been there for decades, businesses that.
Excuse me, it's 8:30 at night and you don't live in the district and you are not a constituent of the Congress member. Can we please?
Yeah.
I think Seamus, you have to jump in.
Yeah, we gotta wrap this up, everyone. Okay. Yeah.
So if I can just say really quickly too, for those that don't know me, I'm John Blasco. I'm the Congressman's Deputy Chief of Staff. I've spoken to a number of you. I know many of you. Chris Bannon, Campaign Manager. I want to encourage you all, we sent it out to IND. I want to encourage you all to attend our town hall. We're having an in-person town hall on Tuesday. So I know that blast went out. Please register for it, because this conversation doesn't end here with the congressman. He's gonna be standing at, it's gonna be in downtown Brooklyn on Tuesday. Please register. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to Chris as well.
I don't have an exact location.
So you have to register in order to get that information.
Oh, come on. Give us a.
It's a security reason. It's for security reasons.
Go ahead.
Friday.
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 Thank you to the
Thank you so much.
I want to be clear, I'm happy to have these conversations and I appreciate the feedback. We will enlist IND to come join us. But yeah, so we're gonna keep doing this stuff. Thanks.
John?
Okay, go on. So I'm just gonna be vulnerable for a moment here. Earlier, we're joined by Councilwoman Shawna Neef, and I'd spoken to our second VP about what our precedent is on non-endorsed candidates who are elected. And is that usually we invite them if they are members. It was my intention fully to have her speak on community issues like later on in the evening. And following like some messages from all the members here. I'm just gonna be honest here. And this is not something I was planning on saying at all. The past 15 months have been the hardest of my life. I know Alyssa had to deal with this, and I understand the shoes that she had to fill, and it was so hard. We have been dealt with a political situation like never before, first because of a war happening 4,000 miles away, probably more, and how it shook everyone. It's hurt friendships, and I can personally attest to that. There are people I just don't talk to anymore. I'm gonna start crying, I know that. During this meeting, we've already down 4 board members on taking leaves of absence, another one just decided to as well. So much of this time as president has been me basically having to try to not have everyone kill each other. It's been trying to mend fences however I can. And it's getting to the point where I just can't anymore. With that, I'm just gonna say, like, if there is a motion for my resignation, I will step down. Plain and simple.
You have our confidence. No,
No, stay.
you have our confidence.
You're doing a good job. We're backing you all the way.
If you guys want me to stay as
Yes.
president.
Yes.
Can I say, I can't have this fighting constantly. I'm sorry that I'm constantly having to try to play peacemaker with everyone. This is getting to the point where I honestly, for my own sanity, for my own mental health, I can't. And trying to basically do a balancing act with everyone. I honestly can't anymore. I'm gonna need some help on this. You know, and it is so much that I am trying to go with what precedent there is on things. But of course, it angers people nonetheless. I don't know always the answer. I do try to ask for advice. I do go with what's my gut instinct says. But of course, like, you know, I understand the councilwoman's angry at me, and she's every right to be.
Who's
But-
angry with you?
Well, Councilwoman Hanif, I was planning on ceding her time to give community updates because our precedent is that non-endorsed candidates do not speak. Yeah, and and she has every right to be angry at me, you know. But I'm just serious on this, like, I don't know where to go anymore with this, so. And yeah, I do apologize to her.
So then maybe that's something you could communicate
I
to.
did communicate,
Good.
she did text me during this meeting. And she is angry at me and she has every right to be. But
To get over it.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's fair to say she'll get over it. This is.
That's not helpful.
This race has torn
Yes, but
this
all
club
we had to
apart
do
and
was
is
to say
tearing
to her.
another Brooklyn club apart.
Yes,
So
but
I
all we have
understand
to say to
where
her.
Seamus is coming from. To say she'll get over it is very disrespectful to her.
What we should have done before was to say, the congressman is coming now and we'll ask you to speak after he leaves or something, so that she knew we didn't just ignore her. And we shouldn't
And
have.
both
She's
Lincoln
the
and
elected,
Dan acknowledged.
she's the elected official, and of
Yeah.
course, whether we endorse her
And
or
both
not,
Dan
she
and
has a
Lincoln
right.
acknowledged her and Lincoln went
Yes,
over and hugged
yeah,
her.
he absolutely did, and that was the right thing for him to do, because he supported, you know, but we should have made some recognition of the fact that although in the program, the congressman is here and he's gonna speak, and then he will speak right after. And then there wouldn't have been this, you know, unpleasant and hard feelings.
Seamus, I just want to say, you acknowledge that you made a mistake, but I think that you've done a really wonderful job of bringing people together. I'm saying that as a I really think that should serve as the president continue to, and that you've
Yes.
done a really good job.
I second that.
I third that.
for me to stay on though, I do need some cooperation. And I know this club is not. 99% of the members here are have been not part of this, but there are some that of course are. And I'm implore you, do not go on Twitter, and I will not call it that other name. This, especially in the race for the 39th district, is evil, what people are saying, just downright evil, not mean-spirited evil. And I just ask that everyone, please just be nicer to each other, because it's harder on people who have to be on the periphery of these things like myself, who has to try to maintain relationships and try to work with folks and not have everyone kill each other.
Can we invite her back before the election? Before the primary?
I'm gonna read that as a motion, just because I've done enough damage, I'm not gonna take sides, so.
It's not,
Yeah, well,
She's always invited.
Yeah,
She's
But-
always
yeah.
invited to come.
Yeah.
And perhaps then the next meeting, make sure that she's the first person to speak.
Yeah.
To show that that was a mistake that we made
Yes.
and not acknowledging.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
Good idea. I
Absolutely.
mean, whether she accepts is up to her, but I think she has to make that gesture.
She will, you know, hopefully she will.
Hi, it's Susanna on the Zoom. I just want a chance to pipe in. I just want to say, Seamus, you have done so much work. Anybody who has been involved in IND is aware of that and is so grateful for your leadership. And this is a very difficult time just for the country, for the city, you know, for people locally who support different people. But I don't think you have my, you know, full respect and support. And these are very difficult things to navigate, but everybody has known how much you've done. So I just want to say that, because I think that's important, not only as a club president, but as a friend of yours. I do think that just to kind of move us forward, it would be great to reach, she's a sitting council member. She doesn't have to speak as a candidate, but just to give some updates, since there are pressing things going on in the community. So I do think she should be allowed to give those updates. And I think it would be great if we could just reach out and just, you know, let her know that we'd like her to come back next time and give community related updates as her job on the city council person. So that's my suggestion.
I will reach out to the councilwoman after this meeting.
Agreed.
With that, is there any other new business? I know that was a lot, but I just had to get off my chest.
It's okay, it's good.
Any other new business? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Hi.
Everyone have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.